Hello. I never know how to start these things. So anybody that's watching, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're getting something out of this. I'd like to give a little credit for something that's in all of these videos so far. And that is this wood burning behind me. Cameron, the young man I mentioned in the introduction, actually is very artistic with a wood burning kit. And he created this for me. The cross itself was built by a friend of mine. And that's where he got the image from. A friend of mine is Hal Kidry, and Hal has a small business that he sells crosses from the storm. And anyway, maybe one day we'll have him on and we'll talk about those crosses and what they're doing. But so when you see that, I know that everybody sees it. They see the cross, they see the relationship to my faith and that. But what's also there is the love of others. And it's greatly appreciated. It's really what feeds us. It's really what feeds us. Being able to love others and receiving love, not in return. They're not mutually connected. Receiving love from others and being able to love others. So with that, this next chapter is called Hungry Santa. And let's get started. I hope you aren't tired of hearing about the hand warmers, because their story isn't finished yet. I had no idea that God could use something so small, boring looking, to such an extent. They were like the Energizer Bunny, and they just kept on teaching and teaching and teaching. And since the reason for this book is to share what God taught me with you, you get to hear the rest of the story the box of hand warmers had yet to tell. See, I kept them with me in the truck, and I had a couple pairs in my coat pocket, always looking for someone who needed them. Most people accepted gratefully. Some passed, thanked me for the offer. As to be expected, some people turned away in what appeared to be distrust or disinterest. That's fine. And then along came Hungry Santa. It was, you know what, I'm just gonna tell this part of the story, and it won't go word for word what's in the book, but I think it was this opportunity to speak it. That's what I want to do. And that's what I'm gonna do. It was a Friday morning in January. And I remember the Friday morning very, very clearly, because my mother-in-law and my wife every year celebrate their birthdays together, and they go, me and my father-in-law give them a free shopping day, and they go shopping together, some mother-daughter time without kids, without husbands in the way, and all of that, and just spend some time together. And at the end of the day, we usually take them out for dinner. And this year they did it on a Friday. And my wife and I working together, there was something I needed to call her about. I called her, and I'm driving down the road. It was very cold. And as I'm driving, talking to her on the phone, I see this man to the side, and he's got a long white beard, white hair, carrying two bags of things over his shoulders. Couldn't tell what they were. Thought maybe some cans that he had picked up to bring to recycling or whatever. And I see him, and I'm in a lane of traffic. It's really busy, so I can't get over right away to get to it. So I'm safely make my way over. I go around the corner, go around the block, and come to where he's walking. Because this, if anybody looked like they could use some hand warmers, this was the guy. So I pulled up to where he's walking directly towards me. And here he comes. So I rolled down the window on the passenger side, and I called to him and asked him to come over, and he did. And he puts his two bags down on the ground, reaches his head in the window. The heater's on in the truck, so it's nice and warm. And I said, hey, could you use these? And I held up a set of the hand warmers. And he says, what do? You eat that? And I pulled back on the hand warmers. No, you don't eat that. You don't eat that. They're hand warmers. Break them up, heat up, put them in your sock, hold them in your hands, just to keep you a little warmer in this cold. Everything. Oh, yeah. I could use that. So he takes the hand warmers, and I asked him, when I meet people, especially people that are alone a lot, I just ask them how they're doing. And very often, man, the greatest gift they could get is somebody to listen. So I asked him how he was doing, if he was all right, and he started talking. Now, he was, I don't know what can't diagnose his problems, but he had problems. And I couldn't understand most of what he was saying. And the whole time he was talking, his head was darting around, chasing wherever his eyes were going. And very rarely did he even make any eye contact with me. I did hear, strangely enough, that he said his father, his brother, and his wife had betrayed him. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I know it seemed like it was genuine on his heart that those things had happened that way. As he laughed, I would kind of laugh just to let him know I was listening. Even though I didn't understand, I was trying to listen. And it went on for a little while. And I've got to go, I'm working. So I look in the back, and there's some blankets that I used for wrapping up cabinet doors that weren't being used at the time. And I offered those to him, and he looked back in the back, and very quickly, eyes going around, says, nope, too much to carry. So I understood that. I understood exactly what he was saying. So I asked him, is there anything else I can do for you? Is there anything else you need at all? No, thank you very much. Okay. He turns around, he goes to pick up his 2 bags. And just before picks up his 2 bags, he turns back towards me and looks me directly in the eyes without any jumping around and says, one of these days, you don't know when, you don't know where, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation. Don't worry, I've got your back. And then he goes and he goes off. Well, I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. I mean, I couldn't breathe. I forgot my wife was on the phone. Suddenly she interjects and says, what was that? So I don't know. I think Jesus told me he's got my back through a homeless man. She says, what? I said, I gotta go. I'll tell you later. Well, I start driving away. I don't get very far. And I immediately begin to rationalize, well, he didn't have anything, physical gifts he could give me. Weren't a whole lot of promises he could make. And so his offer to have my back was what he had. Maybe it was just that, but boy, it felt like a lot more than just that. The next morning, I attend a faith group and with some other men, and I told them the story about what happened. And in telling them the story, one of the guys looks at me and says, you know who that was? You know who that was, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know it was. He goes, that was Jesus. You know what? It's weird. I don't know if it's just me, but it's weird. Somebody else says it, all of a sudden it's like, man, I think maybe I'm crazy. But you know what? It was something. It was definitely something. And so I went on and talked about those things with them, and we kind of I started to develop that as a mantra, a little bit of a mantra. He's got my back. And I know that for sure. I just kept feeling that message was meant for me no matter what. That he could use that God could use that for me no matter what. And so my faith began to change a little bit. Just in the simplicity of, there's a Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, he's got my back. That doesn't mean he's gonna fix everything. It doesn't mean he's gonna make my life easy. Nothing, not that at all. Not that at all. But that he's there and he's part of my life. And that's a good thing. You know, have you ever looked at other people and judged them for where they were? Have you ever looked at the guy on the street corner with his hand out and decided that he was that one that they talk about that's actually living in a real nice house and he's doing, he might be, I don't know. I know I don't want that job, even if it pays well. Have you ever looked at a homeless person pushing a buggy and determined it was all their own choices that put them where they are? Have you ever thought that person probably doesn't have the qualities of somebody that I would generally want to hang out with? But I have. And as the story goes on, even more of my prejudices that I have will be unveiled. And I don't think I'm a very prejudiced person. It's part of who we are. We have to look at those things because we only have experience from a certain perspective, and it's ours. And it takes a willingness to be open to others and to love who the Father puts in our path. You know, there is a right way. There is a right way, and it's very simple. When we love one another, his love is brought to perfection in us. It's really simple, but yet it seems so complicated at times. We want to fight over our theologies. And I'm not saying some aren't wrong and some aren't right. Not saying that at all. But very often when I'm in or witnessing a discussion that's very deep about what did this sentence mean to me exactly, what was God trying to tell us at that time right now, and this is what it meant, and it's cut and dry and everything else. Very often I think, could we just all start with faith in God? And could we all start with loving our neighbor? Because all knowledge without faith without works is dead. So all knowledge without actually taking the steps is not showing that we're people of faith. I'm not trying to preach. I'm trying to maybe help you question where you're at and what's important and let you know it's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. See, that day I just gave a man a pair of hand warmers. And trust me, that's not the end of this story. That one little act, God has taken and he's helped other people. He's helped me in some of my difficult relationships. And he's given even others an opportunity for them to improve their relationships. You know, as a result of this book or telling the story, I've had a couple of women come up to me and tell me that after their husband heard my story, they've been able to have conversations with him about spiritual matters and about God in their life and in their relationship, like they either never have or haven't for many, many years. That's not me. That's not me. I'm just the guy that handed out some hand warmers. So stick around, listen to the rest of the story, or you can go buy the book and read the book and know the rest of the story before we get all the videos out. And then come in and listen anyway. Thanks. God bless all of you.